Yeah, in today's class, we're gonna learn, the basics of neurosquatemetry and science medicine profession, irrespective of your specialization. These are the core patterns that you have to learn. But the whole study, the whole focus of your professionalism is on neuroscience. And whether you are specializing as an invention technologist, or you're specializing as a mental health manager, or you're specializing as a stress manager, that's mental health management, or you are going to the clinical side of it, either the clinical behavioral neuroendocrinology or the science medicine profession. In any of these, you have to know the subject neuroscience. They are all derivatives of neuroscience. So we say neuroscience is the study of the brain, the nerves, and their biochemistry. Everything that concerns the brain, the nerve, and their biochemistry. That means all the synthesis, all the prompts, whatever, the hormones, the neuropeptides in the brain, the nerves, everything about the brain you have to learn. And this is not just learning, that's your key to being successful. So, in other words, you are being trained to be a neuroscientist. Alright? So, neuroscience, like the definition of it, in neuroscience, you have to study neuroendocrinology. That's the branch of neuroscience that is related to what you are about studying. Neuroscience, neuroendocrinology is the study of the nerves and endocrine systems and their biochemical integrative functions. So, two organs that brought together through understanding, where they link. You have to study it. You have to study all their functions, the integrative functions. Two of them, their prompts, how do they go? One targets the other, or their biochemistry. So, neuroendocrinology has two branches. And the two branches are the behavioral side of it, that's the basic neuroendocrinology, and then the clinical neuroendocrinology. But for those of you doing invention technology and stress management, or those doing neurosquatemetry, your basic concentration should be here. The behavioral. In behavioral, we have the basic. In this group, we have two basics. The first is translational. That's, you'll be trained to be a bench scientist. That means your work is only in the lab. And some of you will specialize in being basic behavioral scientists. And some of you will not translate, to more behavioral specialization. So in this you have translational. So in translational you learn, you have to do the biochemistry, the anatomy, physiology, everything about, you just map them, the mapping of the physioanatomical landmarks of the brain. Okay? Then in behavioral, you use animal models to do your behavioral test. So in that case, you also be trained to be skillful in handling animals, and then also be trained in surgery, because you'll be infusing, some drugs into them to examine how they behave, or the effect of those drugs in them. So that's what behavioral is all about. And then in behavioral, behavioral now translates to what Neurosquatemetry, that's where your concentration is. You are studying neurosquatemetry. Now, neurosquatemetry is nothing but the study of behaviors, human behaviors. But first you start with animal behaviors, then you graduate to human behaviors. And then some may find it fascinating to remain in animal behavior. It's okay. Then all what you are learning is the behavior and memory, the intellectual, prompts and then outcomes. So in that case, in neurosquatemetry, you have three branches of specialization. The first specialization is stress management. You can use neurosquatemetry to study stress management. Stress management is also called mental health management. Okay. Then another specialization department of it is called Invention technology. So in Invention technology, you learn how to use the stressful prompts to invent things. Okay? And then the third part of it is a crossover specialization. That means you are not crossing from the basic to clinical. But you cannot do all together. You have to specialize in one. In clinical behavioral neurosquatemetry, now you study how to use neurosquatemetry to manage behaviors in human beings, behaviors and memory disorders. Okay, so in neurosquatemetry, first we start with neuroscience as a parent subject, neuroendocrinology as the parent subject, that's the derivative, because this came out of this. Okay, now in neuroendocrinology, remember you have two units, branches we call here. You have the basic and then you have the clinicals. So the basic is made up of two subtypes, the translational and then the animal model. But all this, translational A and translational D, both of these are called the basic. They are laboratory based. Okay? Now, these arrows you see here, this shows the translational phase. That means you start from the basic and then you translate to this. It is what this person finds out that this person will have to work with. But this person, any person working here, you have to be grounded with the basics of neuroendocrinology. Okay. Then the clinical neuroendocrinology, you have the behavioral and you have the systemic. Now, behavioral, you have neurosquatemetry, clinical neurosquatemetry. In clinical neurosquatemetry, you study the behaviors of human models. You study the empiricals and then the administration of drugs and the effects of drugs on behavior and memory. Then this is not neurosquatemetry. This is science medicine. Then science medicine, that's the systemic internal medicine of neuroendocrinology. So this side you call clinical neuroendocrinology. So clinical neuroendocrinology, you have to study the basics. If you want to do clinical science medicine, you have to do the basics, then go translate or come over to clinical, and then the clinicals that you have to do are two types: the behavioral type and then the systemic internal type. Both of these make up of clinical science medicine. But today, I think let me know how many of you are from science medicine unit. Okay. Now, what you have to do, this is a different thing. You are not here yet. Okay. So you have to concentrate here. Okay, that's the behavioral, the basic aspect of neuroendocrinology. So, but it's mandatory that you have to also study neurosquatemetry. Now, in neurosquatemetry, the two types are mandatory for you, the basic and the clinical. So you have to know them. All right? Now, let's repeat, the first phase of your study is on neuroscience. The second phase is on neuroendocrinology. And the third phase is going through translational from the bench laboratory unit to animal model to behavioral to clinical behaviors and then to systemic. So these four are the phases of neuroendocrinology.